Good morning, Starshines. My name is DH, my pronouns are they, them, and this is the Cozycast, episode 13. You could also call it Flosstube number 13 or Knitting Podcast number 13. I called it the Cozycast because I'm cozy. Well, hello everyone. Today is Monday, August 26th. It has been about 3 weeks since I last filmed a Cozycast for you, and I will explain why later in the chronic health update section. But that means that I've got a lot of stuff to show you. I've got some finishes, I've got some new starts, I've got some whips that are significantly further along than they were the last time I showed you. But the very first thing I want to talk about is the Tiny Witch SAL. Now, if you have been anywhere near any one of my socials since last Thursday, you will have seen that I have launched my very first mystery SAL. So this is the Tiny Witch mystery SAL. It's in 5 parts. The total pattern is about 4,000 stitches, so it's not very big. The first clue is going to drop September 26th, so you should be able to finish the whole thing up in time for some spooky magic for Halloween. Not only am I able to offer the digital PDF pattern, but with the help of the lovely and amazing Heather from stitchwit.ca, I am able to offer kits. Kits are available. You can purchase them through Ko-fi, through Etsy, but most importantly through Stitchwit itself. And I will leave the links to all those things down below. I am so excited about this. I have been thinking about it for a long time. I got the design finalized. Literally 3 people in the world have seen the completed design. It is being kept super secret, super under wraps. I hope you will join me for the mystery SAL. I'm really excited. I think you'll like it. There is a little bit of customization available because this SAL is for all the witches. No matter what you look like, no matter what you wear, no matter how your hair looks, this is for all the witches. I'm going to continue mentioning the Tiny Witch SAL in pretty much every video I make from now until the 26th and even after the 26th, because the pattern will be available in its completed form as soon as the SAL is over. So get used to it. I'm going to be talking about it a lot. So with that little bit of promotion out of the way, once again, links will be in the description. Please join me for the Tiny Witch SAL. With that out of the way, let's get right into the projects. Now, my first finished object I can't show you because it's the sample stitch for the Tiny Witch SAL. Did I mention that I designed a mystery SAL and it's currently available for purchase on Ko-fi, Etsy, and stitchwit.ca? Links in the description below. But obviously I'm not going to show you that. My second finished object I actually can't show you as well because I left it in the other room. And also it's so small you probably wouldn't have been able to get a good look at it anyways. So I'm going to put up a picture. This is the Needlebook of Shadows, which is a design by me. It's for this cute little needlebook. It's really super sweet. It's got, I use gold thread. Now I know why it's called the Devil's Pubes. It is horrendous to work on, my poor fingies. However, it looks amazing. It looks really good. It's I really love the effect that the gold has with just as the thread connecting everything together, and there's a space on the back to like stitch your own initials into it as kind of a little signature. So I had a lot of fun. It was a really quick little finish. I used 18 count oatmeal Aida from Loops and Threads. I've used it several times before. It's not the best. The sizing of the squares seems to be a little bit irregular, so some columns are wider than others. So just be warned, if you're going to use the Loops and Threads brand, it might not be a perfectly even 14 squares per inch. Might be 13, might be 15, so just double check when you're using Loops and Threads brand. But I love the color of it. I would probably go for another like oatmeal tweedy just from a different brand. I used the called for DMC. It's 2 colors of DMC and then 1 of the gold light effects, which, like I said, was hell on my poor fingies, but we got through. And then I finished it using the method that I usually use, which is lining it with felt. It's a very simple method, even if you don't sew. And if you do purchase any of my needlebook patterns, I have 2 of them available right now, this one and then my other one, which I'll put a picture here. This sample was stitched by Orchid, a good friend of mine, and she put kind of her own spin on it, which I absolutely love. Both of these patterns are available in all 3 of my shops. And if you do purchase any of them, they come with both a written tutorial on how to finish them as well as a video tutorial. I have 2 more FOs to show you, but only one of them is mine. So you may or may not be aware, but last Thursday was actually mine and Toot's 15th wedding anniversary. I cannot believe it's been 15 years. It feels like we got married a few months ago, and at the same time, like we've been married for our entire lives. So that was cool. So what we decided, because we're not big going outy people, and also we were both still pretty under the weather, what we did was we both picked a small cross-stitch piece that we wanted to get started that day, and in fact both of us finished it the same day. So I will show you Toot's little finish, which is right here. This is a cute little skull Lily of the Valley pattern. It's by Lucid Kitsch on Etsy. She used all the called for DMC. The only modification she made was she didn't do the border around it, and it is stitched on 14 count black Aida. This one, I think this is Amazon, the Don Man brand, but yeah, it's super cute. So Lily of the Valley is Toot's favorite flower. It's not really our wedding flower, and it's not really on our wedding china, but around the time that we got married, we did pick out a pottery pattern that was Lily of the Valley. So to us, Lily of the Valley has always been like our flower, you know, a symbol of our marriage and all that kind of stuff. So that's why she picked the Lily of the Valley, and they also picked the skull and tiny ghosts because they are, you know, spooky. And then that's our wedding date, August 22nd, 2009. So yeah, this was a super cute little finish by Toot. I am thinking of doing a future video where I go through our box of finishes that need finishing, which is probably about 80% Toot's work and 20% mine, because I'm really bad at actually stitching the same thing for a long period of time. I don't know if people would be interested in that, because it's not just my work, it's also hers, but I think that might be a fun little video, just going through a bunch of our finishes and showing off the stuff we've made. So that was Toot's anniversary present. Present to me, present to herself. So this one requires a little bit of explanation, maybe less explanation if you've been in moon phase Twitch streams. Anyways, so this is mine. The pattern was originally by Infinity Bear Designs, who is an amazing designer. I absolutely love their stuff. And it had the 2 flamingos and 1 seagull. So what I did was I flipped the flamingos, added a 2nd seagull, and this is the family DH. So Toot and I, that's me, that's Toot, we kind of adopted 2 kids online. You know how like found families work, and there's always kind of like the motherly figure and the fatherly figure. That's me and Toot. So our 2 adopted children are here. This one is Munifer Lynn, and this is Titifer Mothman DH. So Munifer Lynn DH, Titifer Mothman DH. There's a whole bunch of lore about how Titifer is like my stepson. I don't know how to go into it, but these are 2 of our very, very good friends that we've adopted as our children. And yeah, so I made this little thing to represent our little found family. So yeah, it's super cute. I loved this pattern. It was so much fun to stitch. I definitely want to do more Infinity Bear designs. I used all the called for DMC plus some extras, and I stitched it on 14 count Charles Craft Aida in the color Mountain Dew? No, not Mountain Dew, Morning Dew. That sounds more like it. So yeah, I'm so happy with it. It's so cute. I'm probably going to just frame it in a hoop. I used a hoop to make it, as you can tell. So I'll probably just finish it in a little hoop, but I might try and finish both of them the same way and hang them up as a set because, yeah. So that was a really fun way to celebrate. We just spent the whole day hanging out, stitching, watching spooky videos, playing games, just enjoying each other's company as we always do. Toot is my best friend, and I kicked the camera to make it wobble. Toot is my best friend, and I really couldn't see my life without them. So. Okay, enough mushy stuff. Let's go into my whips. So I've got 3 cross-stitch whips and 2 knitting whips that I wanted to talk about. My first whip probably needs no introduction because it seems like everyone on Flosstube is stitching this, but it is the Deadly Aquarium. Ta-da! Is that all in frame? Yes, it is. It's horrendously wrinkled, I know. As you can see, I am not caught up with it. So Exhibit 12 was released last Friday, and that would have been the jellyfish in the center here. I have no jellyfish. I also don't have the second half of the Do Not Touch pool. So, yeah. I'm just going to hold this up and talk behind it. I wonder what that'll do for my audio quality. So I am 2 exhibits behind. We only have 1 more exhibit to be released, so like I'm definitely seeing the finish line on this piece, which just feels unreal. I am stitching it 2/1 full cross on 14 count light green Ada from Amazon. The brand name is Dawn Man. And I'm using, of course, all the called for DMCs. I absolutely am having so much fun with this piece. It was a bit of a slog to get through. Hello. It was a bit of a slog to get through the shark and the barracuda. The barracuda, I actually did that almost entirely during one of Moon's streams because she was playing Five Nights at Freddy's for the first time, and it was like very highly tense, and I stitch faster when I'm tense. So yeah. I love the way this piece is coming together. It's just so bright and vibrant. I'm really interested to see what the final exhibit is going to be because, as you can see, there's like a space down here next to the moire where something has to go. Like, that's just a blank space. So I'm thinking that that's where exhibit 13 is going to be, which will be really nice because the moire was the first exhibit. So it's like we came full circle, which I think is cool. So yes, I don't know if I mentioned it, but the pattern is Deadly Aquarium SAL by Lola Crow Cross Stitch. And yeah, it's almost done. There's 1 more exhibit and then it's finished. Right now, the whole thing is about 17,000 stitches, making this one of the largest pieces I've ever stitched. It doesn't quite feel like that because I have been doing it in like 900 stitch chunks, but it's definitely going to be, I think, the biggest piece I've ever stitched when it's all finished, and I cannot wait to see it all done. I hope I can find a frame for it because I think this one deserves to be framed. We do have a display of aquatic animal stuffies over in the other room by our gaming setups, and I kind of think this might look good over by there. So yeah, I think this one's going to get framed sooner rather than later because I'm so pleased with it. It is only off the frame because I just finished Exhibit 10. I actually finished Exhibit 10 the day before yesterday when I meant to film. And then I was like, okay, I'll film today. Yesterday, I said I'll film today, so I didn't put it back in the frame. And now it's the next day, so I've lost like 3 days of working on it because I just couldn't film. So yeah, it needs to go back in the frame, and I need to finish the Do Not Touch pool. And then, yeah, it'll be on to the jellies and then whatever comes next on Friday. So yeah, 1 more look before I put it away, because it's very rarely out of the frame like this, because usually if I have to move the frame, I will move it quickly before I talk myself out of it. So yeah, like, look at those colors. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now, I can't remember where I was on this one the last time we spoke. This is one, you've seen it in and out of rotation. It's causing me a little bit of headaches. I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it at one point or frog it. I have decided to keep working on it. It's full steam ahead now. I am not making any modifications to the pattern as I am stitching it. I am just plain old stitching it. This is Celtic Witch, or Celtic Priestess, by Raven Stitchcraft, or Raven Coven. She's so pretty. So this pattern, Gizm of Raven Stitchcraft, has given me the go-ahead to redesign it and release it on my own platforms, which I am going to do. I originally thought that this was going to be my shop sample for it, but I just need to make too many modifications to make this work for a shop sample. So I'm just going to stitch it in the modified version of Gizm's original pattern that I had, and then I'm going to rewrite it as my own pattern and then do a shop sample. I'm not going to try and do it all at once. So she's got about 7,000 stitches left to go on her, which feels like a lot for what's left, but honestly, she's got a lot of body. I didn't kind of realize how much body she had. But yeah, I had to fill in the face. I've still got to fill in a bit of her lip, which is why she looks like she has a fat lip right now. But yeah, so I love this pattern. It is available on Gizm's website, I believe on the Etsy still. It's called Celtic Priestess on the website. But the files and Gizm herself calls it Celtic Witch. So that's what I call her too. I am stitching this 2/1 on a printed Aida from Amazon. I don't remember the brand name. I'm not using the called for DMC. I did a color conversion to this like kind of warm brown palette. It was originally charted all in grays, and it was originally charted with one of the colors being black. And instead of the black, I didn't substitute that for a darker brown. I'm leaving those stitches open so that this beautiful space Aida shows through, basically. So yeah, this pattern's giving me a little bit of a headache because I wanted to only have 3 whips going. I wanted to have 1 shop sample, 1 pattern from another designer, and 1 full coverage at a time. And then when I finish one in that category, then I'd move on to something else in that category. And this is kind of a shop sample and kind of a small from another designer, but kind of neither. So it defies categorization, which is why she's still on the frame, and I'm still planning to do other starts after Deadly Aquarium. So yeah, I really want to get back to her. Every time I bring her out and look at her face, I want to finish stitching. And then other things just seem to take priority. But yeah, hopefully next time you see her, she will have a neck and a considerable amount more hair. So speaking of Heather from Stitchwit, this next pattern was designed by her. And this is Those Who Wait. This is an almost full coverage pattern. You can see that some of the Aida does show through here. But other than that, it is full coverage. And I tried a bunch of different techniques with it. As you can see, I kind of landed on the cross country by diagonal method, which has clicked so much with my brain. Every time I sit down and do a stitchy session on this, it's like 500-600 stitches without me even thinking about it. I'm having so much fun with this piece. And now that I found my groove with it, it's really just flying. So I think last time I showed you, I was like all the way back here. I filled in quite a bit more. You can really see the spaceship starting to take shape. This was a kit that was given to me by Heather. She originally gave it to me with 14 count ivory Zweigart, but I wasn't happy with the coverage that I was getting, and I didn't want to go up to 3 strands. So what I did was I picked up some 18 count Zweigart, which is giving me the coverage that I want. I think it looks great, and it's the first time I've stitched anything like this large on 18 count. I've done some smaller projects, but yeah, and I think this was also my first time using Zweigart, which was definitely an interesting experience as well, if you haven't done that. Excuse my strands here. This was my first attempt at gridding, so I have gridded this using high visibility fishing line, monofilament fishing line. So it shows up against the white, but it'll also show up against dark fabrics. Celtic Witch is also gridded with the same fishing line, and you can see it shows up just as well against the dark fabric as it does against the light fabric. I haven't gridded the entire thing, I just gridded what's in the Q-snap. But yeah, so I am absolutely loving this pattern. It makes me happy. It makes my brain go brr. And now that I'm holding it, I want to go stitch on. Like everything else is like, oh yeah, I really want to get that done. This one, I want the physical feeling of stitching on it. Okay, my camera cut out. I don't know where it cut out, but I was saying that I'm probably going to stitch on this afternoon, even though there's a few other things I should be stitching on instead, which I'm going to talk about in a minute after I talk about my knitting whips. Okay, so knitting whips. I have two of them I want to show you. This, by the way, was not knit by me. It's factory made off the rack. It was given to me by a client, which I don't know. And it's the perfect throw on cardigan. However, it's holey. And by that, I mean, it has holes in it. And also the sleeves are a little bit like too loose because I like being able to push my sleeves up to my elbows and have them stay. And this one's just a little bit too loose at the elbows. So I'm recreating it. I'm rebuilding it. We have the technology. I'll get to that in a sec though. So yes, knitting. I have been working like mad on Linger. This is a pattern by Asabukta, and it was published in the Deep Fall 2023 issue of Knitty, and it looks significantly different than the last time you guys saw it. So here we go, and I know the color is not going to be accurate. Whatever the color looks like, imagine it a lot brighter. So the entire body's done. So the sleeves are still on hold, but I did both fronts with the pockets. It called for a 1x1 ribbed hem, but I really didn't like the way that turned out, so I ripped it back and did this folded stockinette hem instead. I did the back panel. I did the other front, and then I seamed the back to the fronts because I'm working on straight needles, so I split the body of the cardigan into 3. And I am so heckin' proud of my seam job. Like, look at that. You can kind of tell because the rib gets a little bit interrupted, but it's so neat. Look at that seam. Look at my seams. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my cardie's almost complete? I will stop singing before I get a copyright strike, because that's gonna happen. This pattern just flies off the needles. It's bulky weight, it's brioche, it's wonderfully squishy. It works up really fast. So I can't say enough good stuff. If you've never done fisherman's rib or brioche before, this is a great starter pattern. The only thing that I will say about it is the pattern calls for doing the wrong side rows as so the right side rows for fisherman's rib is K1 below. So you're like knitting one into the stitch below, which gives them that little like hood detail. And then on the right side, you're doing K1 P1, not K1 below P1, but K1 P1. It's a lot easier and it gives exactly the same effect. Like visually, there is no difference if you just knit the entire return row. And actually, I find it a little bit easier because I can tell which side I'm on. Because you're knitting, like you can see here, I did a knit row. Because you're knitting into the stitch below, you're still going to get the V. You're not going to get the little collar. So it just makes life a lot easier to do a row and knit instead of knit one, purl one, brioche. I think I picked that up from Andrea Mowry's Strya pattern, but I could be wrong. So next up is the sleeves, which traditionally I would go back to these stitches that are on hold, put these back on the needle, and then knit down. However, this is the beast. Like it's a lot, and the reason that I switched to straights is because it's difficult for me to knit. And the weight of this, especially as I was getting towards the end of the back, was making it very difficult for me to knit comfortably. I did power through and I finished it, but my shoulder was definitely hurting by the end of a few days. So instead of having all of that weight that I have to turn and flip back and forth, I actually already cast them on. I just don't have them here with me. I only did like 2 rows. But the sleeve I cast on provisionally. I'm going to knit the sleeve as if I was knitting from this point. And then when I'm done, I'm going to go back to my provisional cast on, pick up those stitches and graft them to the sleeve. Visually, there shouldn't be a jog or anything like that. My grafting skills are pretty good, if I do say so myself. But that's just going to be a lot easier for me in terms of manageability of the project and comfort, which is kind of my big thing right now for my crafting, is how to do it comfortably so that I'm not in pain and that I don't have to stop early because I love doing the things that I do. And I don't want to have to stop because of poor body mechanics. So I cast on the sleeves already. I cast on both sleeves. I'm doing them 2 at a time on a single straight needle because it's only 59 stitches around because the gauge is so huge on this. But yeah, I really love this. It looks so good. I am slightly worried about running out of yarn, however. So that's why I'm doing the sleeves first, and then it does need a collar or a button band or something. It depends on how. I was originally going to do a folded button band, like so it would look like this. However, I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough yarn, so I'm going to do the sleeves first, gauge how much yarn I have, and then if it comes to it, I might just do an applied I-cord around the whole thing. Maybe do some like some loops for the buttons, or just leave it without buttons at all. Like, I'm never going to button it, let's be real honest. This has buttons, I've never used them. So yeah, so this is Linger. I'm kind of hoping that I can get this done quickly. I think the sleeves are going to work up quite quickly. So I've been kind of doing cross stitch during the day and then knitting in the evening because knitting requires less braining for me. So as soon as my brain gets tired, I switch over to knitting because it's relatively mindless once you get going. Like the figuring out how to provisionally cast on and then casting on and then measuring the sleeves and all of that, that takes brain, but now that it's cast on, I can just go, which is great. The second project I wanted to show you is also one of those projects that I can just zoom along on. I actually wasn't planning on working on this much until I finish Linger, because same with cross stitch, I want to have a 3-whip rotation for knitting, like 1 cardigan, 1 pullover, 1 small project, and Linger is my cardigan right now. However, I had to go to the ER a few nights ago. Over a week ago now. Yeah, over a week ago. I had to go to the ER, and I knew it was going to be like a 6 or 7 hour wait. It was 7 hours. And Linger is huge. It's not a portable project anymore. It wouldn't have been easy to take with me and to knit while I was there. So I grabbed the barely begun crayon box cardigan. So this is what I have. And this is the cardigan that I am knitting to replace this boy. So this is going to be the front here. And I'm pretty much just using this sweater as the template. So this will be the front here. I increased until it was wide enough, and then I stopped increasing. When I went into the ER, I was here, and I knit all of that while waiting for tests and things. So yeah. I am pretty much winging this pattern. I'm using this sweater as like a model, so I laid this flat, took a bunch of measurements, did a gauge swatch, figured out how big I would need each section, that kind of thing. I am doing this in fisherman's rib as well. I love fisherman's rib. So it's got that lovely stretchy texture. So the yarn is Hobby Amigo, which is my absolute favorite sweater yarn. However, I didn't have enough of any one color to make anything. I had enough of 13 colors to make something. So what I did was I took the time and I made these magic balls. I divided the 13 colors up into 5 balls each. So like one for the front sleeve, back sleeve. The back one is twice as large as the other balls. Wound them all up so I wouldn't have to do any thinking, any yarn changes, anything like that. And I can just knit and go. So it's going to be kind of a rainbow eventually, maybe-ish, because I was just using every color that I had, and I don't have, like, I have this blue, but other than the blue, I don't really have a lot of saturated colors. It's mostly pastels. So yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure, the color, but I think having that kind of color chaos is so my vibe. So my vibe. For the button band, I'm actually knitting the button band as I go. So you can see, I just keep playing with this because it's like a lovely texture. So this will be like the button band here. I've just done it in stockinette and then I will fold it. It's rolling right now, so it's kind of doing it anyways. But basically I'm going to fold it and sew it down so you get kind of a solid stockinette collar that follows the color changes. It's not going to be in a contrasting color. I'm probably going to do pockets. I haven't quite decided yet. Probably going to do pockets. And then this is going to go back in hibernation until Linger is done, which hopefully will be soon. And then I'll bring it out again because I'm really enjoying working on this. It is a lot lighter than Linger, and especially because I am starting it in pieces, whereas Linger was started in the round. So it was all one piece at the beginning, and it's still all one piece, which makes it so heavy. This one's going to be in 5 pieces, which will make it a lot lighter and easier to work on. But yeah, I can't wait to get back to this one. I just noticed I made a mistake. That's okay. No one will see it. No one will know. How will they know? No one will know. Just you and me. But yeah, those are both of my knitting whips. They are very similar in description, fisherman's rib cardigans, but very different in look and execution. So I'm excited to keep working on both of those. So I did have a couple of new starts. I know I talked a big game about having only 3 whips, but I have a couple of new starts. So I'm going to talk about this in the community news, but basically over the weekend, Heather launched the Stitch Whip Marketplace, which is a place for individual designers, dyers, makers of all kinds, makers of all kinds within the cross-stitch space. So needle minders and project bags and all kinds of stuff like that, to basically set up their own page within the Stitch Whip site. So I have listed all of my original designs, none of my like fandom designs, so the Valorant agents and the Stardew and the Phasmophobia. You won't find those on the Stitch Whip, just the things that are kind of straight out of my brain. And I realized that I don't have shop samples for all of those patterns, and I really want to have shop samples for all of my originals. So I started a couple of them. I probably should have started one and then finished it, but I didn't, because I have no control. So the first one is the pattern Mystic Meditation. It is by myself, of course. I didn't get very far on it. Here it is. You can see that I'm cutting it very close to the edges of the Ada here. There's the edge, there's the edge. I started in the middle because this is the widest row. The widest like line of text. So I started with this just to make sure I could like fit the entire thing on this scrap. This is the 14 count Charles Craft Morning Dew again. I have used this. This is the 3rd or 4th project that I've used this in. I am using every inch of this piece of fabric. So yeah, so this is going to be Mystic Meditation. It's just a cute little pattern. It says, fire within me, air above me, water surround me, earth beneath me. And it's a pretty common grounding meditation. It might be from a 90s TV show as well, but let's just call it a calming, grounding, witchy meditation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'll finish this after I finish the next one, because the next piece I realized that I should probably have a sample of that before I did the sample of this, so I started it. This is my newest pattern release. Am I hopping on a trend? Maybe, but it got stuck in my head and I couldn't ignore it. So this is the start. You can't really tell anything. It's on this lovely blue Ada, again from Dawn Man, 14 count. See how I show you my cross stitch? Very demure, very mindful. See how I plug my own shop? Very cutesy. Yeah, it's a very demure little word sampler. I'm having so much fun with this one, honestly. I started this morning, and as you can see, I've gotten quite far. I have chosen to use pinks and blues for the trans colors. The words are going to be in a pale gray to represent the white. I probably could, on this fabric, I probably could do it white, but I like the pale pearl gray in terms of the palette, because the person, Jules, who kind of popularized the very demure, very mindful meme, is a trans creator and has actually managed to fund the rest of her transition just from going viral on that, which is absolutely amazing. So thank you everybody for supporting trans creators, and please continue to support us trans creators, because we are awesome. So I'm hoping to get this done in the next few days. It's not a very big pattern, but it is available now for sale on all 3 of the marketplaces, which you will find linked below in the description. Did I mention that I am now selling on stitchwit.ca, linked below in the description? Did you know that you could also find the Tiny Witch Mystery SAL, linked below in the description? I'm going to be so annoying about that. I'm just warning you. So these are my 2 new starts, and they don't even really feel like new starts because they're shop samples. But they are new starts. I don't know if I need to, like, that's why I kind of had a separate category for shop samples. But I might need to rethink my category situation. Maybe am I just trying to give myself excuses to have more whips? Absolutely. All right, let's take a little sip of coffee. And talk about my plans. So I've shown you my whips. So my plans are, I want to get shop samples done for all of my original patterns. So that's everything that is currently in the Stitch Wit vendor side. 3 patterns right now are missing samples: Very Demure, Mystic Meditation, and Sweaty Bob. So after I finish these 2, I'm going to get started on Sweaty Bob. Sweaty Bob and Cozy Bob, of course, being the skeleton twins. One is stuck in summer permanently, and one gets to enjoy pumpkin spice season. So that's one of my goals for now. So keeping with my categories as they exist, once I finish Deadly Aquarium, because that was kind of defying categories, but now that it's at a point where I'm going to be able to work on it nonstop without waiting for a new clue, it counts as a whip in the other designers category. Don't ask me how my brain works. It sometimes works. So once that's finished, I am going to start something new. So originally I was going to jump right into Dinosaur Forest by Al Forest Embroidery, because I am obsessed with this pattern. However, it's another large pattern. It's 11,000 stitches. So it's another large pattern, and I have a bunch of small things on my list that I want to do as well. So instead of jumping right into Dinosaur Forest, I'm going to do a Mill Hill kit first. Never done a Mill Hill before, never done beading before, so that should be interesting. Never worked on perforated paper either. So that should be a lot of fun. So I'm going to do the Mill Hill kit first, and then I'm going to do this little pattern from Just Cross Stitch magazine. I can't remember if it's Just Cross Stitch or Cross Stitcher. Now that I say it, I think it's Just Cross Stitch. Their Halloween issue. There's this little pattern for the Nevermore Raven. Again, it's a pretty small little stitch. I'll be working from a paper pattern, which I haven't done very much of in recent years. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it on Black Ada, I think. So I'm going to have to switch up the colors a bit. I haven't quite decided yet. And then I'm going to do Dinosaur Forest. So I've got like a couple of tiny things and then Dinosaur Forest. I feel like Mill Hill might be a larger thing than I'm anticipating. But I don't know until I get into it. So I'm excited for those. And then with knitting, I want to get Linger done. We have a doctor's appointment that we have to go out to on September 12th. I kind of want to have it done so I can wear it out, because that's going to be the next time that we leave the house. I know, the life of a chronically ill person. I kind of want to have it done so I can wear it the next time we go out. I'm hoping that the weather will cooperate and realize that it's almost fall and stop being summer. But maybe. So I want to get that done sharpish. And because I just have the sleeves left to go, and because of the construction, the sleeves aren't terribly long. Probably only about 13 inches or so. So I'm hoping that will go quick. So that's my plans. Finish Linger, finish Deadly Aquarium. Once Deadly Aquarium is done, Mill Hill, Nevermore, and then Dinosaur Forest. And shop samples. 3 plans. I think it's going to be good. I'm going to keep working on Those Who Wait as I go. Those Who Wait is not going to be finished anytime soon. It's a 50,000 stitch pattern, and I'm at like 4,000 stitches. So I'm not even at 10% on that yet. But hopefully soon, maybe. I think I'm at 8%, which feels very close to 10, but is not. All right, another sip of coffee, and then we'll get into the chronic health update. Welcome, friends, to the chronic health update. So, few things happened. Few things happened this morning. So, the situation is constantly changing. First of all, Toot's shoulder. We finally got her clinic appointment. It's mid-September. The clinic appointment is when the surgeon assesses the shoulder, and at that appointment we'll then schedule the surgery. So I will know when the surgery is going to be after the appointment in mid-September, which is great because at least now we know things are moving. So that was that's kind of the only update there. Otherwise, they're keeping on. For myself, the reason that I basically went dark for 2 weeks is I got a cold. Now you might be going, you had a cold, that's not that bad. It isn't unless you have lung damage and long COVID. So basically, as a result of this not super harmful bug, I developed inflammation in my lungs, specifically in the lining of my lungs and kind of the muscles of my chest. So it's also called pleurisy, which is a really hard word to spell and say. But basically, everything around my lungs got inflamed, and then I also have lung damage. So my lungs were already struggling. Basically, I was so short of breath that I couldn't talk for longer than a few minutes. Streaming was impossible. Doing this video would have been impossible. And because of the inflammation, I was in intense amounts of pain, like just a band of pain across my chest. And being that short of breath, like it was difficult for me to walk or stand or sleep. I was sleeping sitting up most nights. It sucked. It really sucked. So I did end up going to the emergency room because it had kind of gotten to the point where I was in a lot of pain and I couldn't breathe, and it was getting unbearable. So I went, had a chest x-ray. The poor doctor had like forgotten that I had told him that I had lung damage. And he was like, okay, so your blood work looks normal. Everything looks normal. Let's just take a look at your chest. Oh. And I'm like, no, it's fine. That's what it always looks like. So he got very, very worried for a second, but then went and compared that chest x-ray to one that I had done 3 months ago, and it's the same. They're both hecky. So yeah. So because there's nothing you can really do for the common cold, I went home. My doctor gave me some muscle relaxants to try and just ease some of the pain, which worked. It did work, but it didn't kind of address the underlying cause. I just had to get over the cold, which I finally did. But now we know that that kind of lung infection or lung inflammation is just a possible side effect of any future bugs. It's the same as when you have the flu, you get a fever, I might get lung inflammation. It's just gonna happen to me. But at least now we know that the muscle relaxants help alleviate some of the symptoms. I wish I could get a copy of the chest x-ray. I don't know if anybody else is like this, but maybe it's because I'm a healthcare worker, but I really like seeing x-rays of myself. Like any kind of imaging of my own body is just very fascinating to me. But basically in the lungs, you have alveoli, which are responsible for taking the oxygen from the air that you breathe and moving it into the bloodstream, and then moving carbon dioxide from the bloodstream back out to your lungs. And they kind of show up as like, they almost look like little flower buds on the x-ray. And basically my alveoli have scar tissue around them. So they're like the little flower buds in kind of a cloud of gray fuzz. So it's just really interesting to look at. Really interesting. I mean, it does kind of suck. Being the size that I am, most people who see me struggling to breathe and struggling to walk assume it's because of my size and because I'm out of shape. And, I get looks when I go out and I need to take a second and I'm using a walker and all that kind of stuff, because a lot of people assume it is just, weight and laziness. But it's not. I am dealing with deconditioning because I have been sick for so long. I have a walking pad that I'm trying to use to recondition myself, try to build up my stamina so I can move for longer. But I have lung damage, guys. Like, they're broken. They don't work right. But yeah, so that's the chronic health update. Thank you for sticking with me. Another sip of coffee, and we'll go into community news. Welcome to community news. It's been so long since the last video, I don't even know what to talk about. The last video that went up on the channel was the community showcase video. If you haven't watched it, please go and check that out. It was so much fun to put together. Basically, I got submissions from everyone in the community who sent in their projects that they were proud of, and I put them out in a video, and it was so much fun. It was great. So go check that out. I've had several shop updates because I was able to keep designing and working on the shop while I was sick. So there's tons of new patterns in all 3 of the shops, including the Tiny Witch Mystery SAL. Did you know that I designed a Mystery SAL? It's about tiny witches. You can get it at the links in the description below. Yes, I have other patterns up as well. The Very Demure just went up. I designed this really cool Beetlejuice sampler for any of your people getting married who are they themselves strange and unusual. This one was a lot of fun to design because I was squinting at a lot of like the Quaker Victorian antique style samplers to try and recreate that vibe, but for Beetlejuice and Lydia. So that was a fun one to design. The Valorant agents are back. You can now pick them up in sets, as well as one set that is every Valorant agent, all 26, including the newest one, Vise. The support possums have arrived. So 2 of the support possums are available on all 3 shops. 2 of the support possums are only available through the Stitchwit marketplace. So if you like the support possums and you want to get the hydrate and meds ones, you have to head over to Stitchwit. Those ones are not available on any other platform yet. So go check out the support possums, especially the ones at Stitchwit Marketplace, because that's the only place you're going to find them. I've probably put up more patterns since then, and I've just forgotten. I've been filming for like an hour, and my brain is mush, and I need another sip of coffee. It's not even caffeinated. I have to drink decaf. I'm just drinking it for the taste. Okay, so that is the Cozycast. I think that wraps everything up. I've got a lot of stitching to do. I've got a lot of knitting to do. I am hoping that there will be a video coming out next Wednesday, and I am hoping that there will be another Cozycast the Wednesday after that. It just depends on my health. In the meantime, I am streaming twice a week on Twitch and YouTube, and Toot is streaming 3 times a week in the mornings on Twitch and YouTube as well. You'll find all the links to where you can find us down in the description below. So right about now, you should be seeing some links popping up around my head. If you hit this one, you'll subscribe to the channel. If you hit one of these, you'll go to another one of my crafting videos. And until next time, my friends, I will see you in the coffee shop. I'll see you in the Discord community. I will see you in the YouTube comments. But most importantly, I will see you in my heart. All right. Bye, guys.